Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today we have another single elimination featured match taken from the spring 2016 season of Sam Mann's Black Crusade, his online Conquest LCG competitive league, and we continue to follow Seth Rosen's journey toward potentially winning the championship of this tournament, piloting Urien Rakarth the entire time. So, both of our players are deciding whether or not they want to keep their opening hands. Looks like our Dark Eldar faction player is going to be beginning the game in possession of our initiative token, and in this game, Seth, our second place 2015 World Championship player, is going to be up against card game DB user blacklanner, a gentleman whom I had on my channel previously to talk about old Zogwart. He's going to be playing as Chaplain Mavros. So taking a look at our opening planets as both players decide whether or not they want to keep their opening hands. The first 4 planets are all blue, which definitely works well for Chaplain Mavros. He's able to ping one of his SM faction units for a point of damage, and then it gains +1 attack until the end of the phase. That's great for an attack bonus. It's great for a deploy stall. And let's see, both of our players are on Skype, so I'm not actually sure if they've decided to keep their opening hands or not. But for Seth, who's got initiative, he's got a fair few economy units. He's got a Warlock Destructor, which is fantastic for combat. He's got a 2-command icon, 2-cost Incubus Warrior, a Rogue Trader, and then a Slith Mercenary. Generally, Space Marines run a lower number of units and higher cost units, so Slith Mercenary could be absolutely fantastic in affording Seth just a fantastic economic advantage against Mavros here. Our first play of the game for the modified cost of 2, owing to Urien's ability of discounting torture events. This is going to be a Visions of Agony, so Seth is going to have the opportunity at the very beginning of the game here to look at his opponent's hand, choose and discard one of those cards of his choice. So we've got 2 Indomitables for our Space Marine. It's not as though Urien is well known for all of his combat potential, but I guess those Indomitables are going to be untouched. Seth decided to get rid of a copy of Veteran Brother Maxos, so that's a 3 resource cost, 2 command icon unit, and that leaves our poor Space Marine player with no more than 2 units in hand. He's got this Neophyte Apprentice, and he's also got a copy of Honored Librarian, so he's unlikely to do much in an economic sense, and wouldn't you know it, Urien here has got 2 copies of Power from Pain, and that could result, well, I guess for the cost of 1, your opponent has to sacrifice an army unit if able. If Urien manages to kill this Neophyte Apprentice, then he's going to be able to use Power from Pain for the cost of 1 to potentially get Chaplain Mavros to sacrifice a 3-cost Honored Librarian, and that means that the economy situation for Mavros here could go from bad to worse. Mavros was fortunate enough to stumble upon a copy of his signature support. It is Faith and Hatred. After a unit he controls is assigned damage, you can exhaust that 0-cost support in order to prevent a point of damage. And this is going to be pretty interesting indeed. We've got a Warlock Destructor with initiative at planet number 1. It's going to be able to attack for 3. It's got a command icon, and that means Mavros may want to consider showing up at planet number 1. What makes this particularly interesting is that Seth knows full well that his opponent has 2 copies of Indomitable in hand. I suppose what Seth could try and do is get his opponent to, lay out 2 army units, and then we could see a double Power from Pain, or we could just see the Warlock Destructor kill a Neophyte Apprentice, then we could see Power from Pain remove the presumable Honored Librarian. If Chaplain Mavros is going to be hanging out at planet number 1, that is going to be pretty interesting for this poor Warlock Destructor. Like, Mavros can hit himself with his ability. You could even use, Faith and Hatred only triggers off of attacks, I suppose. Mavros. Interestingly enough, we see this Neophyte Apprentice sitting atop planet number 3. That is Planum. Normally, that's an absolutely fantastic destination for you to send your Warlord, so it's rather interesting that Mavros would put a snipeable economy unit at that planet, because clearly Urien would benefit from sending his Warlord to that planet. So for that reason, I would not be tremendously surprised if a blacklanner were perhaps trying to trap Urien at that planet. We've got this copy of Incubus Warrior at planet number 3, which is 2 command icons over 1. I just would not have been shocked to see, if Seth didn't have that 2 command icon unit, Urien showing up at planet number 3, and Mavros also showing up at planet number 3, just because if that happened to be the case, that would have been Mavros protecting his unit and denying one command struggle of Urien Rakarth. This is where things are going to get pretty interesting. We've got the Honored Librarian deposited at planet number 4. So, let us see. It's going to be Blacklanner with, he'll have to pass during his next action because all he has left is events, or are events. And in the instant that he's going to pass, here he has passed, we could see this Slith Mercenary played at planet number 4. 2 command icons clearly beats 1, but it looks like the Slith Mercenary is not going to be used quite yet. So, at planet number 1, we've got the Warlock Destructor, we've got a Rogue Trader here at planet number 5. Planet number 1, Eluith, affords its victor the choice of the top 3 cards of their deck, adding one of those to their hand. Planet number 3, where we might see Mavros sent, that is going to be Planum, the relocation planet. I would not be shocked to see Seth show up at that planet just because you want to kill the Neophyte Apprentice, then use Power from Pain to remove this Honored Librarian, but I'm also afraid, for his sake, that Mavros, predicting that move, is going to be sending himself to that same planet. He'll have 2 copies of Indomitable to help him out, he'll have a copy of Crushing Blow, and because these first 4 planets are all blue, he'll be able to ping himself twice with his ability, and then he's potentially going to be able to swing at poor Urien Rakarth for a whopping total of 4, and that's going to be far more damage than Urien is going to be able to deal with. So I will be quite curious indeed to see what exactly occurs. I believe both of our players are deciding where exactly they want to send their warlords. Perhaps Seth is already decided and we're waiting on Blacklanner, so let's go ahead and think here. If Blacklanner shows up at planet number 1, he's going to potentially be able to draw himself a couple of cards, and he's really going to be needing additional army units, otherwise this game is sort of already lost. So he's got to show up maybe here. He'll be able to kill a Warlock Destructor in one-on-one combat without too much trouble at all. Planet number 2, Yvonne, seems like it would be just a terrible choice. Planet number 3, he might be so fortunate as to ambush Urien, otherwise he could swing this command struggle into his favor. He could relocate this Honored Librarian to a planet where it could potentially harass Urien Rakarth if he's not going to be at planet 1 or 2. Like, really the only way that would happen is if Urien goes to planet number 5 here. I would not be hugely surprised to see both players maybe go to planet number 5, because that's Barless, the forced random card discard planet, just because Mavros is going to want to shut down 2 cards and a resource of his opponent, and then maybe if Seth predicts that pattern of movement there, maybe we'll see Seth show up at that planet. So it looks like Chaplain Mavros goes to planet number 3. He was presumably attempting to kind of ambush Urien at that location. And interestingly enough, we've got Urien showing up opposite this Honored Librarian. And that makes me really wonder if Urien's either going to end up doing the double Power from Pain, or if otherwise he's just going to retreat straight away. But it seems odd to give up the battle ability here of Carnage Karnath. So maybe Seth is hoping to dig for a searing, I think it's called Searing Brand, is the event where you can deal unpreventable damage unless your opponent's Warlord, unless your opponent discards cards. We saw a total of 1 card, 1 resource for blacklanner, which is a pretty pathetic showing economically, and instead it's going to be an incredible 5 cards and 2 resources for Urien. We've got our command phase, I believe, still in the process of being resolved. Okay, no, I spoke too soon. That's going to be Seth checking out the top 3 cards of his deck for any one of those that he would like. Let's see. What exactly did he get? For the command phase, he got a copy of Klavex Warleader, Warlock Destructor. Looks like he got another copy of Rakarth's Experimentations, which is going to be a free source of damage. He captures a blue technology icon, only at the cost of that Warlock Destructor there, although he may have to use that forced reaction during his next deploy phase. Anyways, Rakarth's Experimentations, which he's presumably going to be saving for his Baleful Mandrake Hypex Injector combo he's fond of running, if he's still got that in this deck, is going to be your opponent, you name a card type, your opponent has to discard such a card or deal 1 point of damage to their Warlord. We're going to be seeing battle breaking out here at planet number 3. Are we going to see the double power from Pain remove these units or not? Mavros hits himself with his abilities, so he's going to be able to swing for 3 for the remainder of the phase. That is going to be a likely very dead Incubus Warrior. Even a 2 shield value card would not have protected it, and now we're probably going to be seeing Planum relocate the Neophyte Apprentice to planet number 4, where Urien resides. And if that's the case, I would imagine we'll see that double power from Pain. Yes, that is going to be the case. And now poor Urien Rakarth is, I suppose, going to be able to use Karnath after he gets both of these units, I assume, sacrificed. He can trigger Planum to move his Warlock Destructor to our soon-to-be planet number 1, or instead, he could use Barlas to do a forced random card discard from our Space Marine player's hand. And this is very interesting that Urien would decide to do this. What an incredible value play. Seth knows that he's going to be able to force his opponent to sacrifice army units, and if he can get the Space Marine player to use an Indomitable to protect this Neophyte Apprentice, then by all means, throw away cards. So just some absolutely spectacular play by Seth. We do see a 2 shield value card discarded, so it looked like devious Seth Rosen, our second place in the 2015 World Championships, has managed to rather sneakily siphon a card out of his opponent's hand. So absolutely fantastic. That is going to be a power from Pain for the cost of 1. That's going to be a sacrificed army unit, and that is going to be a second power from Pain, and that is going to be another sacrificed army unit. So that is going to be a total of 4 resources worth of units destroyed, well, sacrificed, and a copy of the Black Sword removed. So now, are we going to see Karnath trigger Planum, or are we going to see Karnath trigger... Yes, it is going to be Planum. It's not giving me that forced random card discard, and it looks like, I don't know if people just have always underestimated Urien, or if this was just luck of the draw, or it's just a pretty superb player here. So, both of our players each draw 2 cards, they come across 4 resources, and now this is looking pretty grim for Chaplain Mavros, just because he got 2 value shield cards, but... 2 copies of Indomitable don't really do a whole hell of a lot for you in the context of not having any army units to play. Let's see here. Seth is currently sitting on 3 resources because of that Warlock Destructor, but he's certainly got a fair few army units in hand, and Chaplain Mavros, unfortunately, does not have that same luxury, so... Perhaps we've already seen Chaplain Mavros pass. Yep, no actions whatsoever for him, and now all that Urien needs to do is kind of send his Warlord wherever he wants. Chaplain Mavros, I wouldn't be tremendously surprised to be seeing him go for the planet Taurus. So here's how things are working out right now. We've got this Warlock Destructor. It's picked up a copy of Hypex Injector so that it's going to be able to attack multiple times. Let's say if Chaplain Mavros goes to Taurus here, he's potentially going to be able to win at that planet. He can kill that rogue trader rather handily. Then he'll be able to, well, okay, so here's what I'm going to say. Seth is probably going to go to either planet number 2 or planet number 3. He'll be able to trigger Planum. Okay, so he goes to planet number 2, and he's going to be able to use Planum to relocate the Warlock Destructor to the same planet as resides Chaplain Mavros. If Chaplain Mavros fails to destroy this Warlock Destructor in a single swing, and Seth had better hope for his sake that he draws a 2-value shield card, and unfortunately he was not that lucky. I was just going to say Seth would be able to use this Hypex Injector to do Rakarth's Experimentations for 0, Rakarth's Experimentations for 0, and he didn't actually draw any other Dark Eldar faction events, but that would be, you know, that effect alone there would be the opportunity for his unit to attack no fewer than 3 times, which would just be absolutely incredible. So I'll be really curious to see how things go. Karnath, if Chaplain Mavros ends up winning a battle at that planet, oh Christ. Alright, so it looks like Seth was taking a bit of a gamble in triggering Yvarn, and Chaplain Mavros ended up hitting pretty big, so Seth had better hope for another copy of Power from Pain, because Mavros hit the Emperor's Champion. That's going to be a 1-copy signature army unit, and hopefully this does not come back to really hurt poor Seth, because that's an incredible unit. It's unique, it's elite, so you can't Archon's Terror it. It's a target-ready enemy army unit at this planet, must be declared as an attacker, and this has to be the defender during your opponent's next combat turn. It doesn't have to be ready to use that effect, and that is just kind of a complete nightmare. Seth manages to pick up another blue technology icon, which means he could potentially win the game at this soon-to-be first planet the following round. He's definitely a player that's got a preference for playing as long a game as is possible. So, interestingly enough, we saw a Twisted Rax being put into play by Seth. And he's also got this copy of Warlock Destructor, so he moves the Warlock Destructor to that planet. Unfortunately, Mavros is going to be able to hit himself twice. Then he'll be swinging with attack value of 4, and he'll be able to hit the Warlock Destructor. He'll be able to use a copy of Crushing Blow in the face of a 1-value shield card, and he'll still be able to destroy that unit. So I guess let's see what happens. Mavros has only hit himself once with his ability, and maybe this is going to spell disaster, so we'll have to see what happens. Certainly Chaplain Mavros has a whole host of shield cards in hand, but it looks like that Incubus Warrior is going to be outright destroyed. Chaplain Mavros is currently sitting at a, rather reined-in 5 hit points in total, so what is blacklanner going to be doing? Warlock Destructor is going to take a swing of 3 at Chaplain Mavros. blacklanner's got 9 resources. He's got 2-value shield cards, so he can do 2 Indomitables and Black Sword discarded as a shield. He can use Drop Pod Assault to try to kill this Warlock Destructor, and hopefully for his sake he ends up hitting big with it. And currently Seth has got a grand total of 5 resources, which means he could do the 2 Rakarth's Experimentations, which themselves could potentially deal damage to Mavros, or potentially bloody him. Looks like Mavros is going to be sitting at 2 hit points remaining. He takes that attack. Seth is going to be able to use Klavak's War Leader, and we've also got Rakarth's Experimentations, which could be a thing. So we've got that Drop Pod Assault being used, and let's see what, if anything, blacklanner hits with it. Of course, his different options are probably going to be Honored Librarian, Blood Angels, Veterans, undoubtedly, but then he's also got Neophyte Apprentices in his deck. I can't imagine he's got White Scars Bikers. Looks like he found something. What is is it going to be? It's going to be a copy of his signature army unit that is not an elite unique. It's going to be the Reclusium Templars. They're only going to be able to attack for 2, and that really sucks for Chaplain Mavros, and here's why. They attack for 2, they hit the Warlock Destructor. Crushing Blow +2 is not going to be an adequate number of resources with which to destroy the Warlock Destructor, so maybe we're going to end up seeing the Warlock Destructor bloody Chaplain Mavros. We do see Rakarth's experimentations. There's no way of knowing what Seth is calling out. Maybe he calls out support, and that way, Mavros is going to have to either discard a support or deal a point of damage to his Warlord, and then if that's the case, wait, what? So, why, okay, so Rakarth's experimentations, I'm not sure why the Reclusium Templars is readying quite yet. Looks like our SM player decided not to use a shield. I don't frankly know why the Reclusium Templars readied. Why don't I just say, why did the okay, right, so, they must have been pinged by Mavros. That's the only explanation there. Right, so Mavros hit them. With his ability, they prevented that first point of damage. The Reclusium Templars were wounded there by, well, they were attacked by the Warlock Destructor. We saw Indomitable discarded, and now Seth, unfortunately, does not have a 2-value shield card. We're gonna come to the end of the combat round. I guess Seth decided that he's going to pass. We're not going to be seeing a Clavex War Leader drop into play, which is a bit of a damn shame. So I suppose, yep, that is really gonna hurt. That is gonna be Taurus activated by Chaplain Mavros, and maybe he's going to get back in the game. Blacklanner draws a total of 3 cards. That's going to be a lot of army units that he was kind of missing before. That's the Honored Librarian, the Neophyte Apprentice, the Reclusium Templars. Do note that our SM player did not use his Faith and Hatred support to decrease the amount of damage dealt to Chaplain Mavros by 1. So that is definitely an interesting effect. Well, an interesting thing that we didn't see that used. Our final planet of the game here, planet number 5, is going to be Ossus 4, that Steel 1 resource planet. All Seth has to do is win planet number 1, and perhaps he didn't want to bloody Chaplain Mavros because he wants as easy a target to remove as is possible from this planet. So, what exactly are we going to see? We've got Siren Zithlax at planet number 1. Urien has got 6 more resources. Blacklanner has got 10 resources instead. But it's all going to come down to if Seth manages to win this planet, then that is going to be the game for him. He's got another copy of Hypex Injector that he's going to be able to put on really any of his units here, but then again, he's also got a copy of Twisted Racks, and you can just discard Torture cards to ready that unit so it can potentially attack a tremendous number of times. So I'll be really curious to see what exactly happens with that one. Mavros is going to be heavily incentivized to show up at planet number 1 to drop off his copy of the Emperor's Champion at that planet in order to attempt to prevent Seth from winning the game right there. We've got a copy of Earthcast Technician being played to planet number 5. It's got a command icon that's presumably going to be winning a couple of resources for Chaplain Mavros unless we see this Slith Mercenary played at that planet. But I'll just be really curious to see what exactly is going to happen. I think it's all going to kind of come down to either Seth is going to have to win it now, or he's going to be in a whole hell of a lot of trouble. And for Seth's sake, he'd better hope to high hell that he draws another copy of that. Well, I guess even Power from Pain isn't going to be that tremendously useful when your opponent has a garbage unit he can throw away like this Earthcast Technician. So, what exactly are we going to see? We've got a Warlock Destructor here at planet number 1, and then blacklanner has got a total of, he's got that Crushing Blow, he's got an Indomitable, he's got two value shield cards, he's still got 9 resources, and that could be enough to do 2 copies Reclusium Templars and 1 copy Honored Librarian. All of those are going to be deployed to the first planet only to show up exhausted, but at the same time, there's an awful lot that Seth is going to be able to do. It's looking like at best Seth is going to maybe win 3 resources. He's only got 4 resources at present, so he could, I guess, also use a rogue trader with a promotion at planet number 5, and if that's the case, he'll end up winning 3, 4, 5, I guess maybe 6 resources, and then that would allow him to do a double Clavex War Leader, which could be everything he needs to be able to win at that planet. Interestingly enough, at planet number 2, we've got a copy of one of those Reclusium Templar, and I'll be really curious to see if this ends up being absolutely catastrophic for Chaplain Mavros, or if or if that does not end up being the case. We've got these, the Black Sword. We could see that on Reclusium Templars here. We could have the Warlock Destructor attack for 3, they would prevent 1, and then you would end up dealing them like 2 points of damage. So like if they had a copy of Black Sword, the Warlock Destructor would take damage, even discard of Black Sword plus the Unstoppable keyword, that would be no points of damage, which wouldn't set up very well for a Clavex War Leader auto kill. But we've got 2 copies of Reclusium Templar at planet number 1. Now we see that copy of Slith Mercenary. Blacklanner's got his, well, all of his signature army units in play. I can only imagine Chaplain Mavros is going to be showing up at planet number 1. That Clavex War Leader, I suppose we'll have to see if Seth ends up getting 1 or 2, but the Clavex War Leader would be a fantastic opportunity to kill the Emperor's Champion, and it's all kind of going to come down to, God, that about sucks, because what we could see is that the instant that Emperor's Champion is going to be wounded, that could be Clavex War Leader dropping down and killing it. Let's see, if we assess each and every one of these planets, Chaplain Mavros has spent the remainder of his resources. Indomitable costs a resource here at planet number 1, where Mavros basically has to go if he doesn't want to throw away this game. He's not going to win any resources. Planet number 2, he's not going to win any resources. Same for planet 3, planet 4, planet 5. That means we're not going to be seeing an Indomitable, and even though the Emperor's Champion can force one of these units to attack it, as soon as it gets a single point of damage, that's going to be Clavex War Leader's opportunity to bounce down and destroy the Emperor's Champion. That's going to be the Black Sword gone. That's going to be a 5-cost elite gone. And unfortunately for blacklanner, he's not running any copies of Backlash in his deck, and even if he was, it costs a resource. That is going to be command on every single planet for Seth, and let's see what exactly he got. He got 2 additional torture cards, which is going to, first of all, he's at 9 resources, so he can do double Clavex War Leader. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 torture cards to discard for his Twisted Racks, and this is going to be very interesting indeed. So let's see how the world for Chaplain Mavros is about to crumple, and Urien Rakarth, it's looking like he's a bit of a stealth powerhouse, and I'll be very curious to see what kind of additional tools he comes across during the Death World cycle, because in the hands of a talented player, he's already a pretty damn formidable opponent to go up against. So we are seeing battle break out. Seth has got initiative. Will we see the Emperor's Champion target a ready enemy army unit and then basically force Seth to attack it? Blacklanner's got basically Crushing Blow. He's got a 1-value shield card, and he's got a 2-value the Black Sword. Blacklanner is going to be activating his copy of the Emperor's Champion, and he's going to pick Siren Zithlex to be attacking him. So Siren Zithlex is going to be unlikely to deal it any damage, owing to he can discard a 2-value shield card, but the instant this unit takes damage, things are going to go pretty rotten pretty quickly for our poor Space Marine. We see a copy of Suffering discarded as a shield, so interesting that we would see that used. That's going to be 2 points of damage dealt to the Emperor's Champion, and now there is no better time than I guess right after Chaplain Mavros attacks to drop a Klavex Warleader into play and annihilate the Emperor's Champion. Do note that we've still yet to see Faith and Hatred used. Certainly you want to probably save that for a little bit later when you can, prevent a unit from dying. If the Emperor's Champion was sitting at 1 damage or 5, it's still at that Klavex Warleader danger zone, as it were. And I guess let's see how everything ends up happening here. Chaplain Mavros is going to be at a blue planet. He uses his ability to damage this copy of the Reclusium Templars here, and now it's going to be able to attack as a 2/3 unit directed toward any of these Dark Eldar, unless Seth decides to use an effect like Searing Brand or something along those lines to outright destroy that unit. But if it were me, I'd probably be saving myself for the double Klavex Warleader play, just because 2 3/3s is a big deal, and kind of auto-killing is also going to be a gigantic deal. So Seth is going to disallow his opponent the opportunity to use Crushing Blow by discarding a 2-value shield card, and now it's once again going to be Seth's opportunity to attack. He's only got 2 torture cards left. He could either play them and derive benefit from Hypex Injector, or he could discard them and benefit from the Twisted Racks. So Warlock Destructor is going to take a swing at Chaplain Mavros, and what exactly are we going to see? We could see the Black Sword discarded, plus, looks like Faith and Hatred and the Black Sword are going to be used in conjunction to spare Chaplain Mavros. And now, are we going to see Rakarth's experimentations used or not? You would certainly threaten. Okay, we do see it. That's going to be a readied copy of Warlock Destructor here. And now Seth is calling out some sort of card type, and either Chaplain Mavros has to discard a card of the name type, or otherwise he's got to shield against 1 point of damage. And if, he does decide to ditch a copy of Indomitable, if he did not decide to do that, he would have been outright killed. Now it's going to be Chaplain Mavros will have the opportunity to either ready this other copy of Reclusium Templars, or he'll have to attack himself. And I suppose let's just see what happens. We could have either of these 2 attack value units, wait a sec. I guess the Reclusium Templar that hit this Warlock Destructor earlier, it was attacking for 3, and that explains this point of damage on the Warlock Destructor, I believe. So again, Chaplain Mavros has used up his ability. The Reclusium Templar here is going to be able to attack for 3. We could see a 2-value shield card used to preserve this Warlock Destructor. And I would imagine that is going to be what we will see, because, 3 minus 2, which is going to be 1, and then we could see a Crushing Blow to deal an additional 1 point of damage, but the Warlock Destructor would still be alive. Now, I can only imagine it's going to be that copy of Warlock Destructor delivering a blow lovingly toward Chaplain Mavros, or otherwise it's going to be Urien Rakarth doing the exact same, but considering that Urien, why take any chances? Your opponent probably doesn't have his 3-value shield card. The Warlock Destructor is going to take a swing. That's going to be a bloodied copy of Chaplain Mavros. Do bear in mind that this is going to be a top 16 single elimination match. That is going to be Urien Rakarth dealing 2 points of damage to the Reclusium Templars. And now let's see those Klavex Warleaders. That is right. So Klavex Warleader number 1, I can only imagine, is going to end up killing this copy of the Emperor's Champion. Then Seth is going to have an opportunity. Okay, we're going to see 2 of them, and Is he going to end up killing both of these units off? Is maybe, as our players are on Skype, is that going to be the GG? Yep, blacklanner calls it out. That is GG, so that is good game. Congratulations to, need I say it again, our second place player at the Conquest LCG 2015 World Championships. Clavex Warleader 1 drops into play. The Emperor's Champion and its 2-cost attachment are immediately killed. The Clavex Warleader can take a swing, wound this Hail copy of Reclusium Templars. Clavex Warleader 2 drops into play, kills this Reclusium Templar, then it attacks and it kills the Hail copy. So that was one hell of a game. Certainly a little bit back and forth, but it's an absolute delight seeing Urien Rakarth perform so well. But regardless, a very, very well played game indeed by Chaplain Mavros. That opening hand of his really hurt, and that double power from pain that Seth gifted upon him is definitely a pretty difficult thing to try and come back from. So that ended up being an incredible game. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining me for this one, and to everyone involved in making the spring 2016 season of the Black Crusade what it was, 187 players. It's just been incredible so far. So Urien Rakarth advances to the top 8. And I suppose we'll have to see how he does next week. But, my dear viewers, thank you once again for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. More people seeing Conquest LCG means more people may give this game a try. Inspired by incredible matches like this one, they may join our community, and then Fantasy Flight Games pours all the more development dollars into continuing to support this fantastic product. Be sure to reach out to me on any form of social media that you'd like. I've got Facebook, I've got Twitter, and if at any point you ever feel any inclination whatsoever, even the barest modicum of desire to help financially support this channel, I would be deeply appreciative were you to make even a $1 donation on a strictly monthly basis to my Patreon. But, as always, thank you so much for watching, and once again, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.